Good morning. We'll call the May 28th, 2024 Door County Board of Supervisors meeting to order. First, I'd like to make a comment. I'm sure many of us attended numerous graduations. I know I did. And I think a point that they made at those were in the past 4 years, the freshmen going into those classes, college or high school, had to deal with all the issues that we were facing with COVID. But they survived. Some did not even make it to the campus for their freshman year. Others had all virtual classes, but I guess we had to make adjustments. More importantly, this past weekend was Veterans Day. So do we have, or Memorial's Day, I'm sorry. How many veterans do we have in this group? Supervisor Boyd? And I'm sure there's others that amongst the employees of the county would like to recognize you and thank you for your service. Okay, and with that, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have the roll call by the clerk, please. Joel's attending?
No.
Is not. Okay, we have 20 present. Supervisor Gunlickson had an incident at the island that he needed to respond to, so he'll be excused. Okay. The presentation of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? A motion by Supervisor Engelbert, a second by Supervisor Rusnick. All in favor of adopting the agenda, signify by aye. Opposed? Okay, that carries. There will be just a deviation in a moment to bring up the special reports. Okay, but first we'll deal with the recognition for the years of service of Dwayne Kuntz. Mr. Rauer. And
Please.
Dwayne.
Yes, please up front.
Oh, we should have some theme music or something, but no. Wrote a little something. Okay, what to say about Dwayne? In a day and age where the average employee stays with an organization roughly 4.1 years, less for IT, and we have teams to work on recruitment and retention, it's a really big deal to have someone of Dwayne's caliber give us 22 years of service. He was the last of what I would call the old guard, or those that were here before me. With that kind of longevity, he's been a part of a great many things in this organization. I should know, I went through his paperwork after he left. In all seriousness, he's seen us through things such as 5 email server upgrades and archiving, the highway shop going into the digital age, changing phone systems, and virtualization. Those were just some of the big ones. There's plenty more. And although he left his mark in that regard, I think what he'll be remembered and should be recognized for most is his attitude and the levity he brought to the department and ultimately the county, representing us in the best of light through his tenure. I will end with his contributions and the impact he's had, leave him a tough act to follow, and it was an honor to have him as a member of our team through the years. Thank you, Dwayne. How do I read the County of Door, closer to the mic. The County of Door presents this plaque to Dwayne D. Kuntz. The County Board of Supervisors would like to recognize your dedication to the citizens of Door County. Thank you for 22 years of service in the Door County Technology Services Department.
Thank you. I called ahead and they said I only had 45 minutes to talk, so I'll make this quick. In all honesty, finding the right words to say thank you is sometimes the most challenging because saying it just doesn't seem to be enough. It's quite an honor for me to be here to receive this recognition. from the very organization I was so eager and enthusiastic to serve. Never in my wildest imagination did I think I would be here before you as I walked through those doors off of Nebraska Street 22 years ago. I'm still overwhelmed with the gratitude and overjoyed by the incredible send-off that was put together for my retirement. It provided me the perfect opportunity for me to visit with so many people that I have had the privilege and honor to working with for over the years, giving me the chance to shake some hands, exchange hugs, as well as to say thank you and farewell to all that came. And here I am again, standing in front of you, thanking you for providing me with the opportunity to have served a community and organization I truly enjoy and love, and that's not past tense. To tell you the journey has always been easy would be far from the truth, but each and every day I would look forward to the new challenges that would be brought our way in the Technology Services Department and to face them head on as a team. Exploring new emerging technologies, repairing what wasn't working quite right, and wowing the users with fixes we didn't even know we could do. Get her done. In other words, glitter and fairy dust. I had to fit it in there somewhere. But then came the day that I never thought would happen. The day I felt it was time to move on, to take on new challenge from the bucket list, to retire and explore new opportunities that were not really available for me here. A decision that was not taken lightly, nor was it easy, and it's still not. With that, I would like to express that I have always followed and committed to a few words of guidance. Leave it better than you found it. Work hard, play harder, and always be honest. Support the individual and support the organization, even if you don't agree with the decision. Members of the county board, county administration, again, every single department within our organization here, and of course, Jason Rauer, Joanne Kurowski, and the entire technology services team, past and present, Brian, Ashley, Caitlin, Jonathan, and Adam. A heartfelt thank you for this and the prestigious honor of working with all of you. I couldn't have gotten here and be standing before you today without each and every one of you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Dwayne. Okay, correspondence. I believe there was nothing in the packet. So, okay, public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make public comment this morning? Seeing none, are there anyone online?
Okay, I'll go those individuals online. If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand and I'll recognize you and give you the floor for 3 minutes. Is there anyone online who would like to speak? For the second time, anyone online who'd like to speak? And one last time, anyone online? Okay, we shall return back to the floor.
Okay, so there's no public comment. We'll have no supervisor's response. We have the minutes of the April 16th County Board Organizational Meeting and the minutes from the April 23rd meeting. Could we have a motion to approve those as presented? And are there any corrections or additions to those? Okay, there was a motion by Supervisor Shaw, a second by Supervisor Rubelard. All those in favor of approval signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those minutes stand approved. The county administrator, the monthly report.
Sure, just I think the memo is self-explanatory. The one thing I will point out again, just as a reminder, when we do get resolutions on the second page, we are now showing those as part of the monthly report. of the county that has submitted us the resolution along with the title and then what committee it's been referred to. So that way we're tracking all of those. Again, for those that are new, usually when a county passes a resolution that's related to the political activities at the state or something that we'd like to, I guess, influence the change on, a lot of times we'll pass a resolution and then we'll forward that to the state, but then we'll also copy all of our fellow counties. When we get those, again, we'll start recording them now. We'll refer them to a committee because sometimes we'll want to pass a similar resolution or at least have knowledge of what's going on. So when we did our organizational meeting, we thought that we wanted to make sure that we're tracking those because at the annual meeting in September, they'll actually go through what they call all the resolutions and they'll put together their platform for the following year of lobbying activities. So that's why we'll track them in this way. So again, it's a nice way of tracking it, and that way you know kind of what's going on in terms of other activity in regards of resolutions. So.
Okay, we'll deviate from the order here only to bring up the special reports. So we'll do that next. That would be Sam Perlman and Kevin Osgood. If you'd come up front, please.
Thank you. I'm Kevin Osgood, the Executive Director of the Door County Maritime Museum. This is
I'm Sam Perlman, Deputy Director and Development Manager for the Door County Maritime Museum.
the President of our Board of Directors, Terry Conley, is also present in the back of the room to grade us on our presentation to you. We wanted to just visit with you. We sort of rotate between the Parks Committee and the full board. When there's new members of the board, we want to come and outline our relationship with the county, specifically in regard to Cana Island, and hopefully answer any questions anyone has about that. So first up, the museum's mission and vision statement. The Door County Maritime Museum and Lighthouse Preservation Society Incorporated preserves Great Lakes maritime history, primarily focusing on Door County, Wisconsin, and provides interpretive and educational opportunities for guests and our, I can't read it from here, and the print on this is tiny. Our vision statement, it's the vision of the Door County Maritime Museum and Lighthouse Preservation Society to perpetuate the maritime history experience, the best maritime experience here on the Great Lakes. And we do that through having 3 ports of call. We position ourselves that we have 1 history and 3 ports of call. The main Maritime Museum campus in Sturgeon Bay, Cana Island Lighthouse in Bailey's Harbor, and the Death's Door Maritime Museum, where our museum started more than 50 years ago up at Gills Rock. The Cana Island Legacy of the Light. I know many of you visited the island recently. Hopefully you took the time to take a look at this graphic. It tells the story from the construction of the lighthouse all the way up until very recently, including all of the keepers up until Keeper Hal Wilson, who is our site manager there at Cana Island. Overall, the picture that comes through that graphic is that the Door County Maritime Museum has had a part in the preservation and interpretation of this most unique place in Door County. We've been a part of Cana Island since 1971. That is 1/3 of the lighthouse's 153-year history. The Maritime Museum has been involved at trying to preserve and interpret this story for a long time.
So when the County of Door was able to acquire Cana Island Lighthouse property, the Maritime Museum worked hand in hand with the county to facilitate that acquisition. And then we worked with a variety of funding sources to get the necessary money for a historic structures report. And that is the basis of all of the preservation and planning that goes forward. That historic structures report engaged in architectural consultants who identified the flaws in the buildings that hindered access. And they developed an action plan. And over the course of now several years, we've been implementing that action plan to preserve and protect Cana Island for future generations and to make it fully accessible for the first time in its 154-year history. Phase 1 was the restoration of the exterior of the lighthouse and the keeper's quarters, as well as constructing restroom facilities and a maintenance building, and also acquiring the property on the peninsula side to establish a parking lot. Phase two was the restoration of all of the other outbuildings, the barns, the oil house, the privy. Then in 2020, we completed the construction of the Welcome and Interpretive Center on the island. And what that allowed us to do, more importantly, was to take any commercial activities out of the keepers' quarters, move them into the Welcome and Interpretive Center, and that then created the pathway for phase four, which was the interior restoration of the lighthouse and the keepers' quarters. I know, again, many of you were able to visit a couple of weeks ago and saw the restoration work. And it is really, really stunning how beautiful and what a great job our partners with Immel Construction did on all of the restoration work. And then finally, to put up a plaque to acknowledge all of the major donors to all of those phases of restoration over the course of almost 13, 14 years.
Operations of the island, in both revenue and direct funding, the Door County Maritime Museum, over the course of our relationship, has provided more than $6 million to the county for restoration, preservation, and public access accommodations to Cana Island. That affords the county the financial wherewithal to maintain the island as the most visited county park and tourist destination at little to no taxpayer expense. Our partnership is and has been a very successful example of how to handle transferring historic, previously federally owned properties to local communities for preservation and education purposes. The Bureau of Land Management featured Cana Island and DCMM and the County of Door in our partnership on a video on their website. DCMM, in the course of our operations, invests 240 hours of volunteer recruitment time, relationships, and management each year. These are incredibly critical to Cana operations. Over a dozen DCMM volunteers put in more than 1,500 hours. And when you use the federal dollar equivalent to that, it's just under $50,000 worth of volunteer time. Our employees work more than 6,000 hours on Cana specific activities. And our entire team responds when needed for immediate tractor or wagon maintenance issues, including our facilities manager when the water was higher, swimming in Lake Michigan to retrieve a tire that had come off the wagon. There's all sorts of stories with that one, but there's a lot of involvement. DCMM features Cana Island on our website. We cultivate social media following, and we now have 13,500 followers on the Cana Island Facebook page, where a single post can reach more than 27,000 people. Museum staff spend approximately an hour each day fielding calls for Cana Island. And you could almost pick the day on the calendar by just the amount of times the phone rings in the main office here in Sturgeon Bay. And there's always a pause. And then we hear somebody say, Cana Island is open and you can walk across. There's also a tractor, lots of calls. Incrementally, the museum staff responds and spends another 750 hours on Cana responsibilities, more when the island is short-staffed. Our winter season efforts include a neighborhood outreach, seasonal planning, setup, additional project plans, and season wrap-up. That's an additional 100 to 150 hours a year. That's a yearly commitment of more than 8,250 staff hours to Cana Island. 2023 was the first year under our brand new 5-year partnership agreement with the county. And the county will be paying yourselves back, we understand, for some of that investment in the restoration at the end of 2024, which is ahead of when that was anticipated to happen. That's the phase 4 costs.
And just one last note, we have a very strong partnership with PBS Wisconsin. If you'll remember, a couple of years ago, they had a Wisconsin Shipwrecks special that premiered in December of 2020. This coming year is their next major project, which is Wisconsin Lighthouses. It's a documentary that will premiere on air in December of this year. It features 3 lighthouses in Wisconsin, one of which is Cana Island. One of the expert speaking talking heads during that presentation will be our own Kevin Osgood. And they are also in partnership with their education department, putting together an interactive Cana Island experience. They came in last year, they did complete photogrammetry of the entire lighthouse, inside and outside. And they are going to be using that to create a digital experience where you can actually walk through Cana Island in an online environment. All of those resources will be provided to the museum, so we will have access to those so that we will be able to provide that kind of experience, even for those who can't go up into Cana Island, who can't climb the lighthouse, they will still be able to have that experience. The images you see, just one more back. The images you see are actually not photographs, but those are the digital renderings that PBS Wisconsin has begun to put together for that interactive digital experience. They are incredibly lifelike.
So for those of you who visited Cana Island recently, there's some space in the Interpretive Center. We're not done with exhibits there. We have a lot of hope for this immersive experience for someone who can't climb those stairs to get that view. So we want somebody who can come over there in a wheelchair and get that same experience and at least see the view from the top of the tower through this technology. So we're working closely with Cana Island. And when it comes to being the one who's interviewed for it, we have an incredible treasure here in our home county in Cana Island. And when you learn its history and you know its stories, it's easy to advocate for it. And it's just so much fun to take care of this and educate people and teach the lessons that have happened over time on our Cana Island Light and all the others. I did get an email from the producers. This is off script from that documentary, because we constantly say Door County has more lighthouses per mile of shoreline than anywhere else in the United States. And they wanted to know where we got that fact. And I said about 2 days of going down a rabbit hole and doing research, and then provided them with that research. The only other place that even comes close to us is the entire state of Michigan. That's how lucky we are in Door County to have these treasures. So if you have any questions, we're game to answer them. Yes, sir.
Kevin, thank you for the presentation. What are the hours of operation for Cana Island? And roughly, what's your, I would imagine it would be kind of in summer, but just share with us a little bit about maybe visitors and what you're seeing in terms of busy hours and what are you?
The island opens May 1st and closes, the last day of operation is the 31st of October. It's open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's open as a county park. Anyone can come on the island at any time. But when it's open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., that's when the admission rates are charged. It starts off slow because we all know May might be beautiful. May might be cold. It might snow. If we don't, so traffic is a little slow, but this past weekend, just before we left the museum, we had about 450 people on Saturday and another 470 people on Sunday on Cana Island. So it's starting to pick up. And when it picks up, the busiest months are July and August. And over the course of the 6 months of Cana Island, we'll see 55,000 guests come and go from the island.
7 days a week.
7 days a week. The only time we'll close it, if we're going to have some severe thunderstorms, we just don't need people out on the island. So for safety's sake, we might close early that day, lock up the buildings and put a sign up and ask everyone to go home. Yes, ma'am.
There's a pass you could pick up at the library to go to the Maritime Museum, free admission. Does that count for Cana Island as well?
It does. It does.
That's a
Absolutely.
nice opportunity for somebody who.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially the county residents. If you're a member of the library and you have a library card, you can check out that membership pass and visit any of the 2 museum properties or Cana Island at no charge, and you get a discount on the store.
Nice.
Thank you.
Kevin, if we could you just comment, or maybe I could just a little bit and then you could supplement, but there was one question in terms of our financial arrangement. And you saw all those hours. So as you are aware, they generate revenue from the ticket sales of individuals visiting that. Then what they do is that we generate the money from that, and then Maritime takes off their operational costs related to that. And then at the end of the year, they reconcile everything, and then they make us a payment that goes into a special account. And that account's really used for 2 things. One is, again, we advance money for phase 4, and that money's getting paid back. And again, we're ahead of schedule in terms of the reimbursement for that. So that's great news. But then also that is going into our fund for the actual maintenance and future projects. Because you imagine, we started back in 2009, and you're almost coming back to full circle where, again, some of those exterior features will need maintenance again. So it's important that we continue to generate revenue and that we maintain the investment we made into it. Obviously, it's a very popular site. But again, it's a very good partnership in terms of how we're working with that and how we're trying to work with the Maritime, and a strong partnership in terms of how we maintain the property and, plan for its future. So I don't know if Kevin wanted to add anything else on that, but
I think you covered it. We, in the new agreement, we just got far more detailed to understand every aspect of the operation. And it's fantastic that the county keeps a Cana Reserve Fund. We have a Cana Reserve Fund. Our goal is to increase that. Because if you're familiar, read the history, it just takes one storm. And I mean, there are records of waves washing through the house in years past. So if we were to have something like that happen again, that reserve fund would definitely need to come into play. And if something like that, something unusual, a once in a century activity were to happen in this relationship, I mean, I can't think, it would just be, we're so good now, Wayne and his team. When we need something, we can work together and we can make it happen, and we can get something fixed and repaired and back in operation really quickly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Combs?
I would imagine it has.
I can't imagine it hasn't. That's, so that final picture you saw recently from the amazing Aurora Borealis, when you have one of the most visited attractions in the county and one of the most photographed attractions in the county, we are very fortunate that people are very willing to share all of their photographs with us, either online or directly at the museum. It is not an exaggeration to say that we have thousands, probably tens of thousands of Cana Island images in our email, on our shared drive, on our Facebook page. That is the one thing I don't think I've ever seen is a lightning strike photo on Cana Island.
But I'm sure it's
I'm
happening.
sure it's out there somewhere.
Mhm.
And thanks to you asking that question, someone will probably send it today.
Okay, very good. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Okay, we'll move on with our agenda, the pending business updates. There's nothing in that regard, so we'll go to the resolutions. Resolution 2024-25. Supervisor Thais, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to present Resolution 2024-25, resolution in support of funding for county child support in IT modernization project. Basically, this is a resolution that'll be forwarded to the Wisconsin Counties Association, instructing them or giving our support for the WCA to support or put together a lobbying effort to make sure that this funding continues in the next biennial and has the program in good hands for years to come. So this is from the County of Door to that group, showing our support for that program and the funding. I don't know if anything wants to be added by any of the staff on that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Supervisor Thais, a second by Supervisor Norton. Any discussion on that resolution? Okay, if not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Resolution 2024-26. That would be Supervisor Engelbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to support resolution number 2024-25, which is approval of a donation from the Friends of Door County Park System to the Door County Facilities and Parks Department.
Okay, is there any explanation to that? Wayne, did you want to comment to the yes?
The donation from the Friends.
Not specifically unless there's questions.
Okay, I guess
Can you
there is.
explain what it's for or what the money is for?
Tim's here for that one too. This is the 150. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Sorry. I wasn't seeing you in the back of the room. I know you had been there and then.
Well, I helped write them, but then I'm on to June resolutions already, so for more donations. So this one actually comes to us from the Community Investment Fund, right? So part of the room tax dollars and the that the the Community Investment Fund is managing for us. $150,000 was earmarked, essentially non-competitive to the Friends of the Door County Parks. Okay, so we put in grants every now and then, right, on behalf of the county. But this was 150 just set aside for the Friends of Door County Parks. So the Friends group, along with Tim and I, we come up with these projects that the Friends group wants to support. So the donation goes from the Community Investment Fund to the Friends group, and then the Friends group gives it to the county, essentially, right? And so this specific 150 is improvements at Sugar Creek. We have playground, pavilion. We're writing the spec exactly the same as we wrote for Lower LaSalle, so it's fairly small, and compact in the area that we have to work with. And then we have some steps that are going to go from the pavilion and playground area up to a prairie that we're installing this fall. So that's the specifics of the project. And so once we accept this, then we have the RFPs ready to go. So we are over thresholds for a lot of the purchasing. So we'll put the RFPs out for the playground apparatus and the pavilion as well. And hopefully we'll get those back and we'll be able to get some shovels in the ground on this one yet this summer too. That's the goal.
Okay, any questions of Wayne or Tim? Tim is in the back of the room. Okay, Supervisor Boltman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Wayne, is there a playground there now?
There's not.
There's not. Okay, so this is a.
Yeah,
addition.
and part of it, I think it's in the resolution that this project is supported through our 5-year park improvement plan. So it's our 2020 through 2025. One of the goals was to get a pavilion there, I think is what's in the plan. But if we can put a small playground there too, it's something that people in Southern Door have asked about.
Right.
And so we want to try and accommodate that.
So I just want to, as a Northern Door person, I want to express my appreciation for this investment in Sugar Creek Park. It's a really kind of a hidden gem, and it's great that they're getting the full $150,000 improvement. I think that's a good idea. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we had a motion and a second on this resolution. All those in favor of approval signify by aye. Opposed? Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, we should use our voting. Thank you. Thank you. You can tell I'm still a newbie at this. Okay. And we also need a majority vote of the quorum on this money issue. Sorry. Okay, that passes 20-0. Okay, resolution 2024-27.
Hey, Mr. Chair, this came through the Land Conservation Committee earlier this month. And basically, this is a grant from the U.S. Forest Service to continue the invasive species control program. It's a $51,000 grant, of which Greg has found money in his budget, some match money for $13,000. And this is a continuation of the program that they've been working on here for a number of years. And I think they're making progress on it. So I guess it came through the LCC committee and we unanimously approved it, and hope the board does the same. Greg is back if you got any specific questions.
Okay, are there any questions of anyone? Otherwise, we have a motion by Supervisor Thais and a second by Supervisor Boltman. Sorry. Okay, would we use the voter board for this one, please? We need a majority vote. And that passes with a vote of 20-0. Okay, resolution 2024-28.
Make motion to approve resolution number 2024-28, emergency repair of the landfill methane monitor and the transfer of an amount not to exceed $12,000 from the landfill reserve account to the landfill repair and maintenance to pay for this repair. It's my understanding that this is a device that would notify employees of any high levels of any particular things that you do not want to breed, basically. And I believe that this has failed, and as a result, it's an emergency, and I believe it has already been at least it's been ordered. I'm not sure if it's been put in.
Okay, there was a motion by Supervisor Miller, a second by Supervisor Combs. This requires a 2/3 vote of the members for passage. Okay. Supervisor Boltman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do we have any sense how often this sort of sensor gets replaced? I was just curious if, I'm assuming maybe it had a lifetime or, you know. I don't know if it is that answer. It's not a-
Actually, there's no specific lifetime, but what it is, it's part of the yearly inspections that we do, and the annual inspections. But again, in this case, it also triggers if the system goes down, and it did. So it's one of those things that once this goes down, we definitely want to get it replaced. So again, we did authorize moving forward with that portion, but now just for the fall, we're doing the financial side of it now to account for that.
And it actually looks like we're not even spending 12 grand, right?
Well, we authorized up to 12 grand. It depends on the final installation cost, if there's any type of special wiring. So we usually do a little bit extra just to make sure we don't have to come back for something like that.
Thank you.
And as the resolution indicates, it's coming from the landfill repair and maintenance expense account. Yes. Okay, this requires a 2/3 vote for passage. So if you'd use your voter boards, please. This also passes by a vote of 20-0. Okay, resolution 2024-29.
Number 2024-29 to replace the fire alarm in the Door County Library and the transfer of funds from the Door County Emergency Expense Account to the Capital Outlay Expense Account in amount not to exceed $27,500, with the understanding that the city of Sturgeon Bay would pay for their share of 1/2 the cost. It's my understanding that this is the system in which would automatically go off if there is an issue with smoke or smoke alarm. The manual ability to trigger those alarms is still there, but this would be the automated part of things.
Okay, are there any questions regarding this resolution? Okay. Okay, this also requires a 2/3 vote of the members. We have a motion by Miller and a second by Rusnak for approval. And this resolution passes 20-0. Okay. Resolution 2024-30. Supervisor Zettel, please.
Thank you, Chairman Engelbert. I'd like to move that we approve resolution number 2024-30, amendment to the Uniform Addressing System Manual. This is kind of a follow-on to a resolution 2414 that was done at the March 26th meeting, where the county board approved a resolution to basically do some staffing changes and restructuring of the Land Use Services Department, as well as some transfers from non-budgeted funds. This was then a follow-on from this resolution, a joint meeting with the Judiciary and Public Safety Committee and Resource Planning Committee relative to getting some consensus on changes or consensus on sign size for the E911 size, et cetera. Then the action for the RPC was basically to make those updates based on that consensus into the manual. And that's what is attached following this resolution. The changes there represent some organization changes to the land information officer role, as well as uniform sign size, 6 by 16, I believe, and also number lettering and road name placement.
Okay. Okay, Sean, would you?
Yeah, just one point of clarification with this. The changes made are listed in the attachment to resolution 2024-30. There was something that was caught that needed to be changed after this was put in the agenda packet regarding where the map of the baseline for the numbering system is kept. The manual, as it's in the packet, lists that it's kept in the Land Use Service Department, that has moved to the Land Information Office. I did make that change in the resolution that was passed around, the official resolution that is updated. But I wanted to let the board know before they voted on it that I did make an additional change that's not reflected in the packet. And it's just the location of where those baseline maps are kept.
Okay, is that clear to everyone then? Okay. Okay. Okay, Supervisor Shomo, please.
Thank you. Just a couple questions. If we could go over just the basic changes, not every single one that's in there, but the sign size change. And then if we can get information on, did the towns have, I think they had opportunity to respond. Did they have any response that they like or dislike the changes? And and are the villages also doing this or not because they have their own signs? Thank you.
Mariah, would you care to address those concerns?
Morning.
Morning.
So this is not an ordinance that would have gone out to the towns for comment, like things that normally come to the Resource Planning Committee, so they have not weighed in on it, and it's not necessarily appropriate for them to do so. But I think at this point, everybody is aware that we've been working on this because we've been working on amending this manual or trying to get these signs installed for a couple of years. But so the towns have not weighed in. I'm not sure what the rest of your question was. I forgot.
The summary of the changes.
Oh, yeah, basically, I think it was covered pretty well by Hugh. One of the addition of the manual that got adopted last year was going to have two different size signs in the core areas for Bailey's Harbor and Fish Creek as compared to the rest of the county. With this go around, the Resource Planning Committee is recommending that the same size sign be used everywhere. And as Mr. Zettel said, it's 6 by 16. So there's really more just cleanup to make sure that those sign sizes are reflected everywhere. They're still going to be blue, and outside of those two core areas be perpendicular to the road. In the core areas, they'll be parallel. The changing of the sign to that smaller size necessitated making the print smaller. But that was talked about at Judiciary and Public Safety, and they thought that the 3-inch size numbers, which is what we have now, suffice. So I don't think there's much else that's of substance. It's more just clarification.
Why was the sign size reduced?
Because he didn't want a boogie board on them. No. Yeah, I think that was part of it. They just seem large when you're looking at them up close, although it is the same size that we've been looking at. But we're not going to be putting the town names on any of them anymore. So there's a little bit of room. And I think the idea was that it might possibly cost less. Really, the primary cost for the new signs is the installation, not the signs themselves, but it will save some money. And it'll be easier, I think, for whoever the vendor is to just be making the same size signs for all the locations. Oh, you asked about the villages. I forgot about that. So we are not in charge of replacing the signs in the villages. There are several of the villages that have us do the number assignments, but then they do their own sign installation. And I know they're not all the same.
Between the difference between core and outside of core. So right now they're all parallel, but then we'll change the ones in the outside of the core to be perpendicular. And is that basically outside of a town area?
So what in the county comprehensive plan since like the 90s, there have been different areas that are designated as core areas. So like downtown Bailey's Harbor, downtown Jacksonport, Fish Creek within Gibraltar, Ellison Bay, Gills Rock. But when we looked at specifically, well, we looked at all of those areas, but Bailey's Harbor and Fish Creek have a fair number of buildings that are right up next to the sidewalk. And so there might not be some place to put a perpendicular sign. And so the decision was made in those two areas to put those signs still parallel to the road. So they'll just be the one-sided signs. It'll extend quite a bit beyond what you would think of as downtown Fish Creek or downtown Bailey's Harbor, because we're just going to follow the core area lines on the map rather than having to try and figure out like where the boundary ends, because eventually those areas are going to grow too.
Okay, thank you. There's no further questions. A motion by Supervisor Zettel, a second by Supervisor Voigt. All those in favor signify by aye, please, or vote on the voting tablets. I'm sorry. It's a voice vote on this one? Okay. Yes, a voice vote is sufficient. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. That motion carries. Okay, resolution 2024-31. Yeah,
Make a motion to approve. I suppose I have to hit the button. Motion to approve, resolution 2024-31, approval of the Wisconsin Refueling Readiness Grant to the Emergency Management and authorization of the work being done. It's a grant for like $5,753.10. And I think Jeb is here if anybody wants to hear any explanation of it.
are there any questions for Emergency Government Director Zeb? Okay, Supervisor Shaw? Or, okay. Sean, thank you.
I also did want to mention with this resolution, because this is a public work project, even though it's not over 25,000 where we're required to go out for bids, we are required to advertise notice in the paper of this project. This resolution authorizes that advertising. There is a vendor that's been working with emergency management to come up with what needs to be done, how much it's going to be in applying for these funds. So I anticipate that that vendor will be selected, but we do have to advertise for 1 week in the paper. There is that requirement in this resolution as well. The sample or proposed notice is attached as is backup.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there was a motion by Supervisor Rubelard, a second by Supervisor Shaw. And we'll go to the voter board. Okay. This resolution passes by a vote of 20-0. Okay. Resolution 2024-32, Supervisor Thais.
Should probably get on that one then,
Okay, page 64.
Yeah, we got it. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Appointments to the county board subunits that are reflected on page 65. These are appointments that are made, as you can see, as the terms are more than 1 year in some cases. So this is what's been recommended. So look forward to approval.
Okay. This is a voice vote on this one then. All those in favor of the motion to make these appointments? Motion was by Supervisor Thais and the second by Voigt. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. We'll move on to the ordinances. Ordinance 2024-04, Supervisor Zettel.
Thank you, Chairman Engelbert. Again, this is some more changes, again, relating to the sign changes and the restructuring within the land use department. As you can see here, I would like to recommend amendment to Chapter 10 of the Door County Code of Uniform Addressing System. And the primary change is change from the planning department to the land information office relative to administration responsibilities.
Okay, I think those changes have been explained pretty well, but are there any questions? Okay, being an ordinance, we need a majority vote of a quorum also. Okay, there's, use your voter board, please. Okay, the ordinance stands approved with a vote of 20-0. Okay, the amendment of Chapter 35, the Door County Code, this resolution 2024-05, Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make a motion to approve ordinance number 2024-05 for the amendment of Chapter 35 of the Door County Code Citation Authority. And I guess I would turn it over to Sean if anyone has any questions.
Okay, are there any questions for Mr. Boltman? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not on this committee, and as it listed as an amendment, I don't see anything in red. So could someone just summarize, are the fees being changed, or is there some?
It's in blue on page 70 this time instead of red, sorry.
Okay, so it's just the land information office employees is the only change? Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that.
Okay. Okay, anyone else with any questions? Voice vote? or
Majority.
Majority. Okay, we use the voter board for this one, please. Okay, this ordinance stands approved then with a vote of 20-0. Okay, that takes care of our resolutions and ordinances. We've already had the report on Cana Island. Any new business? Oral committee reports. And review of committee minutes. Go to review of vouchers, claims and bills. So we'll move on to announcements. The 2024 WCA conference is in September from the 22nd through the 24th in La Crosse.
I need a hand raise if who needs a hotel today.
Okay. Our clerk says she needs confirmation on who wants a hotel room for La Crosse
If you
today.
would like me to book your hotel room, raise your hand. If you're going, if you want to book your own hotel room, feel free. Because it is La Crosse and I cannot guarantee you will all be together, so.
Jill, is this the event that we had to have signed up for last time, or is this the one that there's still time to sign?
Time to sign up, but
Right.
hotel room
Yeah,
opens
that's
June
my thought.
first.
Yep.
Yep.
Can you raise your hands
Okay.
again so Jill can tell, please?
Joe, this is leaving on the 24th, right?
Sunday.
So is that Sunday and Tuesday?
Sunday, the 22nd, and it goes through the 24th in La Crosse. Sorry, keep your hand up so I can. I have 10.
Okay, the next county board meeting would be scheduled for Tuesday, June 25th at 9 a.m. Anyone interested in providing treats for county board meetings can sign up in the back of the room. And with that, we're open for adjournment. Motion by Norton and a second by Enical to adjourn. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No one wants to stay. We stand adjourned.